I'm Joe Peroni.
And I'm Heidi Mancini.
Welcome to the Grief to Relief Show on WCOBM.com. If you're interested in truth, authenticity, and challenging the herd mentality, then this is the show for you. Heidi.
I want to take a moment to thank Frank Scandura, president of Frank's European Service, for sponsoring our show. Also, Jay Young from City Athletic Club is also a sponsor for the Grief to Relief Show. We want to say thank you. We appreciate you. And also, we appreciate all of our listeners that tune into us now every week and the social network on Facebook. And I want to take 1 second to announce I have a fundraiser on May 1st at Hunt Ridge Park. It's Loving the Least, it's called, and it's haircuts for the homeless. And we always accept donations of perishable food, clothing, anything you want to just bring down and give to us. Books are always welcome because we like to read. And especially men's clothing, men's socks, blankets. I know it's starting to get hot, so I'm not really sure about the blanket thing, but I know we always need men's clothing and men's socks. We get a ton of things for the females, but we seem to not get a lot of things for the men. So you can either Facebook me on Facebook through the Grief to Relief page and message me that you have something to donate, and we can arrange for drop-off or pick up. Anything you can do is appreciated. And that is on Sunday, May 1st at Hunt Ridge Park, Loving the Least.
All right. So last week we did a show on sexual fantasies, and that was our first show on this station. So we didn't want to go in that direction because we don't want people to think that that's all we do. Although we have no problem.
We're just all about sex.
Well, sex sells, and we have plenty of sex shows, but there's also other things that we do.
Right.
So today we want to do a show on the art of happiness. We want to kind of touch on the business aspect of it because happiness right now is a big business, and you'll hear in just a little while of what we kind of think about all of that. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I think about when I keep hearing this happiness thing is happiness really a good goal in the first place? So we'll start with that. What do you think?
I think it's a good thing to talk about. And I think happiness, like you said, right now we're in a climate of be happy. Just be happy. And a lot of people are like, what does that mean? Just be happy. So I think it depends on where you're coming from in your own particular life and what your virtues are and how you are as a person. That's going to determine your degree of happiness. And unfortunately, sometimes we compare our happiness to other people.
Right, I think we do that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I have a problem with this whole happiness culture right now is that the happiness culture is really based off of two things. Increasing the amount of pleasurable experiences you have and decreasing the amount of pain you have. And on the surface, it sounds okay. Mm-hmm. Except when you start to look into it, and that's the exact definition of hedonism. And so you get the Tony Robbins type people in the world who sell happiness in avoiding all bits of pain. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem. It's excellent for him because he's probably worth about $800 million. There's a reason for that. Because he tells people what they want to hear. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't tell people what they need to hear. Right. So when we have this capitalistic culture, mm-hmm. and we're in this age of narcissism and being superficial, here's some of the things you get.
But I'll interrupt you just for a minute. But it all comes together with this sense of entitlement, because you and I were talking about this earlier. That the way I think about things is we'll try to comfort somebody with how do you feel and their whole feelings about things, instead of being a little bit more hardcore about things and saying, well, maybe you need to go do that, like take the action part of it.
Right.
And that's where a lot of this happiness culture is coming from.
Well, it's like sugar, right? It tastes sweet.
We're afraid for people to hurt. Like as we've been raising our children over the last few years, 15, 20 years, we don't want our kids to have pain. Right. So we protect them from everything. It's the same thing in the adult culture now. Instead of feeling the feeling of whatever it is that you're going through, we just say, well, be happy. And people wander around now and they're confused about, well, what am I supposed to feel happy about? What am I supposed to do to be happy? Is it the more stuff I have? Is that what makes me happy? Is it, I don't know.
Well, a lot of this, like I was saying, it's like sugar, right? It's sweet. Everybody likes it. Mm-hmm. It's great. But over the long run, it's not nourishing at all.
Right.
and it'll make you sick. And it's the same thing with this happiness culture. You can't be happy unless you go through some type of adversity and struggle. 25% of young people these days, and by young I mean under 30, they're either on or have been on psychotropic meds because they can't handle their life. It's because their parents are sitting there spending the whole time trying to make the road perfect for them instead of preparing the kid for the road.
Well, in self-esteem, if you don't have, if you have issues with self-esteem, and that's self-esteem is based upon what you accomplish. So, if you have parents wandering around micromanaging their children so they're happy and they never feel any pain, they don't develop self-esteem.
Right.
So now we have kids growing up that have really low self-esteem because they've never been forced to accomplish anything because the parents don't want them to feel anything.
Right. And how come they don't accomplish anything? Because they're afraid to go through pain.
Well, they're afraid. They're afraid to fail. They're afraid to feel disappointment.
Right.
Because again, if you're told all the time, if you don't feel it, and then you're rewarded for not feeling it or being just okay in what you're doing, that's the other thing. They come out into the job world or come out from that environment, and all of a sudden, your boss says to you, "You're not producing enough for us. You're not." You can't show up for work 10 minutes late. And they finally tell these children, no, you're not that awesome, and this is what you're responsible to. You got a lot of depressed people. You got a lot of depressed people walking around that say, I'm not happy,
right.
Because they never developed how it is to feel happy just from the virtues and the things that we learn as we grow that come from the inside out.
Right.
But we live in a society now that happiness and most of our things are validated on what the whole world thinks. If everybody else is driving a Mercedes, I got to drive a Mercedes. If everybody lives in a certain part of Las Vegas, if you don't live there, you're not good enough. If you don't do a certain type of job, oh, that's what you do for work? Who cares? As long as you're paying for your family, you got food on the table. I don't care if construction work, so what?
Right.
But,
well, as long as you're a good person. See, that's where we've gone wrong, in my estimation. Again, going back to the Tony Robbins thing, only to use him because he seems to be the most popular, not because he's the best, right? Capitalism doesn't always bring out the best in us. What it does is he appeals to the lowest common denominator of people. And on top of that, he appeals to the lowest level of consciousness.
Well,
so, of course...
Well, and the other thing is I was going to say the lowest common denominator, it's appealing to people in need because they're victims. They almost get re-victimized again because they want that quick answer. How can my life be better? I know, and then we share these quotes, we share inspirational sayings. I do it on Facebook, and I try to put positive affirmations out there for people, but none of that means anything if the person isn't living it and feeling it. It's like
there's no action behind these these one-liner things. The other thing too, again, with Tony Robbins, what he'll do is say, okay, happiness is based upon you feeling what you're or getting close to what you think is the blueprint of your life is. So in other words, if you own a Hyundai and then you would really prefer a Mercedes, that gap is going to be your unhappiness.
Right.
So his version is go out and get a Mercedes. Okay, so but we're talking about hedonism. We're talking about only being happy through material goods. In nowhere does he say that you need to improve yourself as a person or to increase your virtues or personality strengths or just be a good human being overall. It comes down to, again, it's basically verbal sugar. It's just what feels good, what sounds good. But heck, if anybody should do any work on themselves, in all happiness tends to, for a lot of people, be an external world. It's what does that guy think about me? What does she think about me? Does my boss think I'm good? Do I need another significant other to tell me I look good for me to feel good? That kind of thing. So it's all external, and we've forgotten the fact that we don't need other people to tell us if we're good or not, or to make us feel happy. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. But that's a culture that we live in, and when you're not raised and you don't develop these internal skills, and that's what's frustrating for people, and that's why people are always searching, because people say these things, and I know myself, you go, well, how am I supposed to do that? if somebody's saying, well, feel this way, do this.
Right, you can't.
And again, it's got to be the action part, because when you do something for somebody, you feel good. When you do something for yourself, you feel good. When you set a goal and you accomplish it, even if it isn't 100%, you tried something.
Right, and we're running out of time, but let me try to say this real quick. This is the culture we live in, right? As millennials are, under 30 years old. When they were surveyed, this is what they said. 80% of millennials believe that being rich will make them happy. Mm-hmm. Not true. 60% believe that being famous will make them happy. And more than 50% would rather work for the Kardashians than work for a politician. You can't get any more superficial and narcissistic than this. This is the culture that we live in. We'll be right back after these commercials, and we'll do a little bit more. This is Joe Peroni.
This is Heidi Mancini.
And you're back viewing and listening to the Grief to Relief Show. This is segment 2 today. Heidi, announcements.
I just want to make a quick announcement. Our friend Alan Childs, he mentioned that the singer Prince passed away this morning at the age of 57, and we don't really know why. We just heard that he died this morning at age 57. So I wanted to mention that. Also, Venus Vegas, if you'd like to help with the fundraiser, you can contact me Messenger on Facebook or through the Grief to Relief page, and we can figure out what you'd like to do to help with the fundraiser, whether it donate supplies or donate your time there. We could figure something out. We appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. So we're back talking about happiness. We talked a little bit about what it shouldn't be. It's basic hedonism that we're seeing a lot.
Explain what hedonism is too, Joe, because some people may not know what that word means. I didn't know what it meant when I first heard it.
All right, hedonism. What it is trying to just expand as much pleasure as you can and minimize all pain.
Okay.
So we have some problems with this, though. Because I'm looking at this now, I might as well do it. Can you guys see this? We can't play videos anymore, so I'll hold this up. Can you see this? This is the NPC, National Physique Committee magazine. It just came out. This picture is from the Nationals. Now, the top level physique people are what we call bodybuilders, right? Like Arnold Schwarzenegger was a bodybuilder. But because we live in a culture now where we're trying to make everybody happy and everybody needs to participate and everybody needs a trophy, here's the cover of the winners. As you see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 girls, and there's one guy in the middle wearing shorts. So what we see here is we have fitness, we have physique, we have bikini girls. Basically, it's a beauty pageant. It's not bodybuilding anymore. Why? Because bodybuilding is too difficult for most people to do. It takes too much of a commitment. The guy in the middle is wearing shorts because it's too difficult for some men to bother to train their legs. So instead of pounding it out in the gym for 15 years with heavy discipline and training and diet, what you can do is train for about maybe 6 months, get a nice gym membership, lose a little bit of weight, and you could wear some shorts and you could be a model. Now, as you see, there's no bodybuilders here anymore, yet this is a bodybuilding organization. So what we're doing here is trying to make everybody happy, except for the people at the top edge. So it's like going to school and being a straight A student, and because it's so hard to get straight A's, we now have moved up the C and B students and given them a whole category of their own, and we cheer for them like they're A students. And just to not to make, we don't want to make the B and C students feel bad, so we take the A students and we don't even let them graduate. Because as you see, the bodybuilders, men and women, are not even allowed on the cover of the magazine anymore because, oh my God, they might make other people feel bad.
The other thing I want to mention too about that is, again, it's a corporate decision, and it's about money. Because
hedonism.
when you're at the top of that, and you're the top bodybuilders, and from what we know from the 80s and the 90s, there was maybe 15 people in the men's category that showed up, and maybe 8 or 10 women. So it was a very small competition.
Right.
It was televised even. They had couples, everything. But now they figured out a way to make money, so we'll open the sport up to everybody so that we can get fees from everybody. So it's turned into another money venue.
Right, so it's the same thing again. We're going to appeal to the largest amount of people to make the most amount of money, But the people who do the hardest work and who are the most advanced don't get any adulation for that.
No.
And again, because here's the idea. If you want total pleasure, but you don't want to go through any pain, there's a long list of things that you can't do in this world because you're going to have to go through some pain to be successful. Here's one. Like, don't you dare ever be in a relationship, because relationships are not happily ever after. So you're going to have some things. You're going to have to go through some collaborations, some compromises. You're going to have some arguments.
Renegotiations.
Yeah. You're trying to get your things of what you believe connected with somebody else. Then you're trying to hit a moving target because every day goes by and your goals might change and you're changing as a different person. So listen, don't do any of that, because there's a lot of pain in relationships and there's a lot of hard work. So if you only want pleasure, then that's when you go out and screw a different person every night, which of course then that doesn't work either, because you will never be fulfilled, and then you end up maybe possibly getting diseases. So that's the whole point of the hedonistic lifestyle, is that in order to be a fully competent human being, you have to work hard. You have to go through the trials and tribulations, adversity, to be a good person. Tony Robbins and the rest of these such, even like Joel Osteen, the preacher, he is more interested in just making money. I've read the Bible. The Bible has nothing to do with how much money you can make. It has to do with being a good human being. And it has to do with the ability to suffer, even to stay a good human being. So again, Joel Osteen is what they call a prosperity preacher. He gets out there and he talks about abundance, just like Oprah Winfrey. It's another one with no college education in terms of therapy. I know she has some kind of broadcasting something. She talks about relationships. What relationship has she ever really been in? She talks about raising your children. Oh, that she has no children. She just throws out, you need to live in abundance. Do not think in terms of scarcity, which is great when you're a billionaire. That's easy to do. But again, she's talking about total hedonism. She's not talking about being a good human being. What do you think?
Well, I agree. And again, it comes down to getting back to what's virtuous, what makes us develop as a person, what makes you different, what makes you caring, what makes you whatever virtues are. Because there's giving people in the world, and there's people that aren't giving. There's people that care, there's people that don't care.
Right.
So how do you work on those type of skills first? Because then you'll be happy with no matter what. If all of a sudden, I knew somebody that had a crap load of money and they lost it all. Lost it. And basically what he said to me was, well, I made it the first time around, I can do it the second time around. But the basis of what I got from that was he was so confident, because he had worked hard to get where he was in the first place, that he knew, I have to work hard again, and I did it one time, I can do it again. He didn't have that give up defeatist mentality that, oh, now I'm just going to have to give up because I don't have all the things that the money or whatever he had before. And he did end up rebuilding his business again and doing well. But he had those core things. He had the core beliefs about himself, about hard work, and about what he had as a virtuous person that he could develop and make things happen again.
Right.
So that he could have a good life. But he didn't base his good life on all the money he made.
Right.
He made his good life on enjoying. He really enjoyed the money he made too.
Right, so the happiness
himself,
is
and
the
he
process.
gave it, yeah, exactly.
As we're talking about this too, it's okay. Here's another one. If you just want to have pure pleasure and not go through any pain in your life, please don't be a parent. That's another one. Being a parent is not going to cause you great pleasure. There's going to be a lot of pain along the way. The only way you can have pleasure from being a parent is what Aristotle said. He said that happiness is not an in-the-moment feeling. What he said is it's an overall encompassing feeling that you've had through your virtues throughout your lifetime. So in other words, you can have issues with your children going through a really bad time and say, no, this is not fun right now. My kids failed school. My kids did this bad thing. No, that's definitely not a happy time. But overall, of trying to be a good parent and doing the right things at the right time and bestowing intelligence on your children and allowing them to blossom into who they need to be and correcting them at the correct times, that overall builds an overall sense of happiness because your goal is a large one. It has nothing to do with making money and getting away from pain.
Right.
Pain is growth, growing pains. Simple. So we'll be right back after these messages. This is Joe Peroni.
And this is Heidi Mancini.
And thanks for watching and listening to the Grief to Relief show. This is segment 3, and we are talking about happiness. We're talking about the business of it a little bit and how we have some charlatans just basically selling hedonism, but they make a lot of money. And we're also talking about the difference between hedonistic happiness, which is fleeting, kind of like sugar, empty calories. And then we'll be talking about a different type of happiness also coming up.
Okay. I just want to read something that this is somebody else's writing. I can't take credit for this, but I like the poem because it says what we're talking about today.
Right.
It says, happiness lies not in wearing the latest trends, nor is it in being popular or having many friends. It cannot be purchased at a store, doesn't come gift wrapped with a bow. It's not in all the certificates nailed on the wall for show. You cannot attach a value to it. It's priceless beyond compare. Not everyone can afford it, and it won't diminish if you share. So what is this treasure that sets it apart from all the rest? True happiness is in the faith which resides inside your chest. So happiness always comes from within yourself.
So what does that mean to you?
It means to me that if you're doing things in your life that bring you happiness, no matter what it is, I mean, it could be what we consider sometimes the littlest jobs, like not a little job, but your mom, what would always say, she loved her family and her kids.
Right.
So that was her happiness, and that's what brought her joy. And some people would look at that and say, well, that's not a big deal, but to them, but in the realm of the way our world is right now, that's a really important job. And I guess it depends on it. For me, it's whatever I do to make myself feel happy, and I tend to like helping other people and things like that.
Yeah, true
Are you
happiness.
happy?
Am I happy? I am happy. Go ahead, ask me why.
Why are you happy?
I am happy because I do basically the things that I want to do to my authentic self. And, it's funny, I just talked about my mom for a second. My mom taught me at a very young age, and this is like a very popular saying, but my mom liked it, so I kind of bought into it. She said, it's not if you win or lose, it's how you play the game. And, people think about that, and it's like, who cares? That's such a common saying. It doesn't mean anything. But actually it really does, because it takes into all of the ancients, like Socrates, Aristotle, and Plato, of what happiness really is. Because it's about what you can control. And I can control how I play the game. In other words, we have a TV show. I have a lot of material. I've looked it up. I've done hours worth of research. I'm not going to tell people what they think that they want to hear. I don't care if we're popular or not. Right. I don't care. I could sit here on the air and give you the Tony Robbins speech about just be happy, everybody, and go out and buy a Mercedes. But that is the exact opposite of what true happiness is, and I'm not going to say that. So I'm not going to play that game. I don't care if we're number one in the ratings or not. It's how I play the game. And I play it in terms of what my mother told me when I was very young, because we didn't have a lot of money. It was always about lead with your virtues. Always feed the virtues, starve the vices. And that's how you live. Now, when you work as hard as you can to be the best you can, don't worry about the outcome, because if other people don't understand it or realize it or give you the accolades that you need, number one, it doesn't matter, because most people don't understand virtues. They understand money. So that's the nature of where we live. The other part is that I don't need anybody to tell me I'm good, because that's external validation.
Right.
We talk a lot about in therapy and even in life coaching about finding your meaning and purpose. The honest truth is, and life coaches don't want to tell you this, you don't have to look for meaning and purpose outside yourself if you don't want to. The only place to actually start is within yourself. It's about how you can take every bit of potential that you were born with and increasing it and making it to the best you can be. And every time your feet hit the ground in the morning, you ask yourself, how can I be a better person? How can I be better, smarter, stronger, more loving, caring, all these things? That's why I refuse to put poisons in my body. Nature will make me old. Nature will take me one IQ point, one cell at a time, and I will wrinkle and gray like everybody else. I don't need to help nature along. Screw them, or whoever is taking my life away. Just as we saw today, it really hasn't hit me yet. I mean, I am immortal, right? Like Prince died; he's only 57. I mean, that's horrible, and it makes it realize that we're all human. You know, nature will take us one at a time. And again, if you're afraid of pain in life, you got a situation, because everything that you ever love, it's all impermanent. Everybody around you will die. Your animals will die. You will die. So if you're afraid of pain, I don't want to say end it now, because then somebody's going to commit suicide and blame me. But the point is that you can't live a happy life unless you are less ignorant. You have to understand what life is.
But I think I think this is the way I try to deal with it. Life is hard. That's
Life
how I
is
look
hard.
at it. So everything above and beyond that, anything that's good,
Right.
because I already know it's hard, it's not as difficult, because I already look at life and say things are difficult. Things I don't want, honestly, if I could stay home probably every day the rest of my life, I'd probably be happy with it. But realistically, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
With my life, is being home all the time. And I don't mean it's bad to go out there. I'm just saying that if we look at life as that life is hard and we have to do things with it, it makes all the things that come our way better.
Right.
Especially the good things that come our way, because when the crappy things come our way, yeah, that can really hurt people.
Right,
and knock
but
them
you
down.
can learn from the negative things. And when the negative things happen, you should have some, like you said, gratitude, because things are not good all the time.
Right.
So it makes you appreciate the good things, and it makes you work really hard. Like, before we came here, Heidi picked a bunch of roses in our backyard. Here's the funny thing. Heidi, you know the answer to this. What makes the roses grow faster?
Water.
Okay,
And
that's
the sun.
one.
And the
Add
sun.
two. Cool. Yeah, that's all true. What else?
I don't know.
Fertilizer.
Fertilizer.
But
yeah.
what's fertilizer?
It's nutrients. It's food for the plants.
But what's really fertilizer?
It's shit.
Right.
It's crap.
Things grow better out of fertilizer.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is, because that's the way life is too. If things are too easy for us, we don't grow up to be the people we need to be. That's why you see so much anxiety in young people today. You see so much depression, because they haven't gone through anything. They haven't actually overcome anything. Why would you have self-esteem if you've never overcome anything? You have to be accepting of what life is. Here's something right now. Again, if you're afraid of pain and you just want happiness, please, by all means, do not get into a relationship. You can't do that. Everybody talks about this number. 50% of marriages, they end in divorce. And everybody says, that's terrible. You know, what incredible pain that must be. Well, here's another thought. How do the other 50% of the marriages end?
Through death.
They end in death. So take your choice. Like, they're both painful. Here's something interesting. I could do this live. Heidi and I are together. As I look at her, it's hard to do this. I haven't figured this whole thing out with the TV of where I'm supposed to look.
You're trying to turn around. Oh, there you go. You can turn around. These chairs swivel.
Heidi will probably, going by percentages, because women live longer than men. Now, if something else doesn't happen and we separate, which would be painful, the other thing that could happen is Heidi will have the pleasure of burying me. Now, if the percentages work out, because we're the same age, women live about 7 years longer than men, you will have 7 years to figure it out, and you will have to look at and figure out what to do with my dead body and probably do a eulogy. So if that bothers you, then you can't be in a relationship.
Right.
Right? And if that really bothers you, and so you say, well, like a lot of people I've heard that are on drugs, what they do is they mask all their feelings. Here's a way to mask your feelings. Limit the amount of love you have. Does that make sense to anybody?
No.
No. So, but if you wanted to do that, what you do is stay distant from me. Don't get close to me. Don't ever look into my eyes, because at some point you will not be
You have
able
nice
to.
eyes, actually. They're really. Hey, come here. Let me see. They're nice. They have like a yellowy underneath them.
Well, that means jaundice. I could
No,
be
I
dying now.
know. They're like an amber brown. They're like a see-through
okay.
brown.
But the
They're pretty.
point is, if you
Actually,
don't,
your lips are what I like to look at. Your lips are really nice.
oh, well,
Yeah.
thank you. So the point is, if you don't have the ability to love deeply, you're not going to have a good life. But if you love deeply, you're going to experience pain. I'm sorry, Tony Robbins. You make all the money in the world, but this is what Socrates would say. A person who lives like Tony Robbins, that's a supreme idiocy. Not my words. That would be from Socrates. We'll be right back after these messages. This is Joe Peroni,
This is Heidi Mancini.
and this is the Grief to Relief Show, segment 4. These things go by way too quick when they make us stop all the time. We used to be able to just ditch the Well, I didn't say not ditch the commercials, but we used to just put the commercials where we wanted to, and then ditch the songs if we needed to.
Right.
But now we
But
have
you know what
no
I keep
control.
doing? What you talked about earlier, when you go like this to the microphone.
Yeah,
Because when we were
you
on
have to sit back.
music before, because they always told us to go like this. So I find myself still doing that, where I'm leaning forward into the microphone, and I don't need to do that.
Right, I don't either. I'm making myself look shorter than what I am. It's ridiculous.
So anyway, I guess I'm still trying to work on that, where I don't like look, whatever.
So we're talking about happiness. I forgot. Did I ask you, are you happy?
I'm happy
You are? Why?
because I'm doing what I want to do most of the time. Sometimes I'm not happy if things don't go my way, or I get disappointed with things. I go, okay, that's kind of sucked. But for the most part, yes, I'm doing hair, which I love to do. I'm in a great relationship. I have my doggies that I love. I'm helping people with training and fitness goals now. I like to be the helper. So if you ask me that, yes, I'm most of the time happy with my life.
Now, people like to talk about sex. Now, our show today is not really about sex,
No.
but does sex make people happy?
I think so in the moment.
Okay.
I
That's a
think
fair enough answer. Yeah.
in the moment, yeah.
Okay, so we're going back to ancient philosophy again.
Yeah.
Aristotle would say sex is pleasurable, but it doesn't make you happy,
Right.
because happiness would be the long haul.
I think what makes
Would
you
be the
happy with sex
relationship.
is being with the person you want to be with when you're having sex, because that's what I like. I look forward to having sex with you because I like you, and I want, you know what I mean? That's what makes me happy. But to have maybe random sex with people,
Right.
no.
Which some
probably-
people do.
I mean, some people do, but I think it would be pleasurable, like you said,
Right.
Because of that. But I don't think it would make you necessarily happy. It'd be kind of like, okay, that was cool, that was fun. Next.
But typically,
maybe.
people that are trying to find the next pleasurable thing, they're very unhappy. You know, that's the other thing about the culture. You know, you see it like in music. You know, all these people partying, they're having a great time. Listen, if you can't fully engage with your life 100% and deal with life as it is, and you need to inebriate yourself, you don't like your life. You know, I'm sorry, but you don't. It's like we're going to be going to a Who concert soon. I would not even think of I'm even going to get a full night's sleep before this show. This might be the last time I see The Who. Trust me, I want to remember every note, every word, everything. I would not be drunk to a point where my senses are screwed up, and so I'm not really there. And it's the same with people's lives. They go, wow, you know, sometimes I use alcohol because it opens up my personality. Okay, but what if you're a jerk? You know, and you probably
Well, that's what
are
they say,
a jerk.
the happy
like,
drunk
you know?
and the fun drunk. I'm a fun drunk when I drink. But I know people that you don't want them getting drunk because they're nasty. They want to fight everybody, and there's like this ugliness that comes out. So you're like, oh, God, please, I hope they don't start drinking because it's going to not end good.
Yeah,
or
that's
me, on the other hand, I just kind of go, boo, 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 and because I'm so, what's that word? I've been told I'm not conservative. I don't think I'm conservative. I'm serious. My client told me the other day, you're just serious. No, I'm not. I don't think I'm serious all the time. But I know when I
can
have
be
a
a
couple
business.
drinks in me, I can get pretty, woohoo, let's have some fun, Joe. So, you've been on the other end of that from time to
yeah,
time.
unfortunately.
And he doesn't like it. He doesn't like me when I get goofy.
No, because you don't even know I'm there. Listen, here's something that I have too. You know, it's like I have a rule. right? And I've always had this rule, and I try to keep it as much as throughout the years. I am not going to give of myself and have sex with a girl that doesn't fully feel everything that I can give her.
I know.
I am fully responsible here.
I try to make I try to make you be bad anyway. I'm like, I don't care.
You are going to know who did this to you. There's going to be no, if,
question.
buts, ands, nothing like that. I don't want you, drifting off. Oh, no. You're gonna feel every inch, every touch.
I know.
That's the way it's gotta be.
I know, and I've tried to make you be bad.
And anything less than that is disrespectful to me. Mm-hmm. So I'm not gonna screw some girl who's half wasted. That doesn't make sense to me. It's a waste of my time. I won't do it, and I don't need to get girls drunk to make sure that they want to be with me. Like, I never thought about that. Like, that's kind of weird. Yeah. I don't just want to do that. Speaking of integrity. My friend Alan Childs sent me a thing just before the show about Led Zeppelin, who I've been very much talking about. We've done like 2 shows about their absolute total no integrity whatsoever, because they've plagiarized like 15 songs. They're finally, it looks like, going to get in trouble, and they're going to have to pay Randy California, his name is, and his family money because they did plagiarize part of Stairway to Heaven. But here's the thing. In terms of our hedonistic, money-oriented society, everybody thinks Led Zeppelin's the greatest because they were so rich and famous. Mm-hmm. Randy California died penniless. So now can we say that Randy California is as great as Jimmy Page and Robert Plant? In some ways. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that one song. But why do we don't even know Randy California? And if we knew that he was homeless, we would think less of him even more. But yet he's the actual writer of the beginning of Stairway to Heaven.
Wow.
Like, where are the people out there that care about virtue and integrity? Like, you got to stand up for Led Zeppelin at this point? Not me. Never. Not at all.
Yeah.
And that's one part. I don't think we have much time left. We have less than 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. Let me put this out there because this happens a lot. I work at an alcohol and drug recovery center, mm-hmm. and they teach a lot of times basic CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, here's part of the thing.
Which is ABC theory.
Yeah, we can
go for people that
that.
don't know, because what's cognitive? It's just saying if you do A and B and C steps, then this will get you better.
So feelings and emotions will change your behavior, right? So if you have feeling and emotion, that will, you can pretty much predict what your behavior is going to be. If you're a hedonist, right? Because if you lead from virtue, your feelings and emotions don't matter. And again, we've been fed this through this Oprah, Tony Robbins type of society where you live in your emotions. He talks about that a lot. You live in your emotions. Yes, if you are an incompetent human being, you live in your emotions. Mm-hmm. It's not okay to be emotionally reactive. It's not okay to make decisions from feelings and emotions. Right. That's not how you're supposed to live. So it's the opposite. So what we do is we say, listen, if feelings and emotions equal your behavior, simple, just change your thought. Just change it. Now, I don't care if you were raped. I don't care if you were beaten. I don't care if you were starving. I don't care if you were verbally abused, physically abused. Just change your thought. Just love yourself. Things are much better now. Don't you feel better? Like, don't you just want to change your thought that quick? And if it was that easy, wouldn't it be great? Yeah. But see, life doesn't work like that. Here's how it does work. What you do is, you do what Aristotle, Plato, all the greats,
Socrates,
Jesus, Buddha, all of them have said. What you do is do the right thing at the right time. Do the next right thing. That's simple. You know the difference between right and wrong, so do the right thing. So don't go by your emotions and feelings. You go by what the correct behavior is, and you do the correct behavior. The correct behavior will change your emotions and feelings. What a brilliant concept that was from 6,000 years ago. Right. Like, here's the thing. If you do something that's praiseworthy instead of something that's going to cause you guilt and shame, your feelings are going to change because you're doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. That only makes sense. And you know who also said that?
Who?
My mother always told me that.
See?
Just do the right thing and you'll feel good about yourself. You can't possibly feel good about yourself when you're doing wrong things. So, show's over. All right, so we will see you next week. I'm Joe Peroni.
And I'm Heidi Mancini.
Thank you.